And here in the studio live with me on this beautiful Sunday is a representative from the Community Connections for Life organization. She's a clinical therapist. I have Miss Imani Williams. Good morning, Imani.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm awesome. How you feeling on this Sunday?
I'm feeling amazing. It's a Sunday fun day.
Yeah. So we're here to promote something that for the last few months I've been very passionate about, and that's mental health. Our community ignores mental health because it has a stigma, like, oh, he crazy, and then it just ends there. Like, so what, how do you feel about the whole stigma of mental health in the Black community?
So I'm so glad you brought that up. You're absolutely right. There is tons of stigma in the Black community. First of all, the minute you say mental health or behavioral health, you're right. People say, I'm not crazy. But what people also forget is our community has been through a lot. We were repeatedly traumatized. And so there's a lot of healing that we need to do to kind of make sure that we're in a good place, in a good space. And it doesn't just mean that you have a mental health diagnosis or a behavioral health diagnosis. It means maybe you need some emotional support. Maybe you went through something rough. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you're going through your family separating, or you're a child and you need to live in a new home or a new place now. So it doesn't just mean you have a mental health diagnosis. Maybe you have some behavioral problems. Maybe you're having a hard time focusing. It could be something as simple as that. But people usually think mental health and they think of something as severe as paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as difficulty focusing. Or I have some sad feelings because I've been through something really difficult. And that's completely normal.
And people are really embarrassed to share the fact that they may feel like they need help mentally.
Yes.
But the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis are not easy.
No.
So it's like before, when we could just push things to the side and not deal with them, it's getting to the point that every day we're being fed, whether it be through our phones, the news, through family members, through our job, through our children at school, this, that. It's so much to deal with. And when you add all that up, it's like a tea kettle about, or a pressure cooker about to explode for a lot of people.
It is. So in our community, one of the things I constantly hear is what happens in my home stays in my home. And a lot of that comes from the fear of being judged. We want to make sure that no one is judging us. We also have a high rate of contact with law enforcement that sometimes seems unfair. So there's a lot of fear around sharing problems. But you're absolutely right. We've got school shootings happening. We've got a really interesting political environment right now. And I'm finding that when I talk to children and youth and adults, they're very stressed out because they feel unsafe a lot of times in their communities or at school because of all the things that are going on.
And everything they see on a daily basis.
Yes, it's interesting.
And what are some of the things that Community Connections for Life? What is Community Connections for Life?
So we are a nonprofit and we are a community mental health center. We have 3 locations. We have one in Miami Gardens that services both adults and children. And then we have a Pompano Beach location that services children, and a Belglades in Palm Beach location that also services children. We do individual therapy. We do psychosocial rehabilitation groups. And what psychosocial rehabilitation is skill building. So how to manage anger, how to manage your depression, how to deal with stress. There are things you need to learn with, to help you deal with life that you won't necessarily learn. Yes, coping mechanisms, help you cope with things. And these are things you don't necessarily get from educational institutions.
Exactly.
So we're there to help children learn these things and adults learn these things. We pick up the clients, we drop them off. Yes, we do. Because a lot of them are children and we are fully medicated funded. So a lot of our families don't have access to resources that your average person may have access to. So we're able to pick up, drop off, feed them. They get lunch, they get dinner. So a typical day with us is the kids getting out of school, our van goes around, picks up the kids from school, brings them to the program, and they're in group therapy and they're in the psychosocial rehabilitation group. And then the therapist gets to see each child at least once a week, sometimes twice, but once a week.
How does a child get into the program? Like, how does a parent who feels like, what are the signs that maybe the child needs to go to a program like yours?
So a lot of times parents or adults, because we do
Mhm.
have adults that we see at our Miami Gardens location, they're
Mhm.
noticing that there's some behaviors going on with them. Either someone has told them, maybe school has told them, maybe they've already had a behavioral health or a mental health diagnosis that they've received from another doctor or a
Mhm.
psychiatrist or another therapist. And they have Medicaid and they're having a difficult time finding a therapist. So a lot of that starts online. They look around, they Google, and they find us. And what they do is they can fill out an application with us either online or in person. They can come to one of our locations, whichever is closest to them.
Mhm.
They'll fill out that application. We'll go ahead and verify their Medicaid. If they don't have any Medicaid or Medicare, because we take both, we also offer a sliding fee scale.
Okay.
So they can give us maybe a pay stub or proof of income or whatever they can give us. And from that, we will come up with an amount that's, feasible for the client. And they can begin seeing us either just for individual therapy or they can do the groups because we offer a group 5 days a week. Most people do both. A lot of the parents like their kids to do both because they're getting picked up from school by the van, brought to us, they're in group, they have their therapists there, and then we drop them home. And the adult program runs very similarly. With the adult program, though, they also have in-house medical services. They have in-house psychiatric services so they can get their medication. We offer the same thing for our children when it comes to psychiatric care. So they can get maybe a psychiatric evaluation and get medication if they need it. But the adult location does have in-house medical services.
When a child is in your program, is that like something that they have to do for the rest of their lives, or is it case by case? Like, do some of them have to go through therapy for 6 months, a year? Like, how does that work?
Most kids are with us between 6 and 12 months. So I'll give you an example. Say you're a child and you've experienced your parents going through a divorce. After about 6 months, you should be in a place, or your therapist or your group facilitator who's helping you with group should have been able to help you learn the tools or the skills that you need to cope with that situation. Yes.
The changes.
Exactly. So between 6 and 12 months. Now, say you have a more severe behavioral health diagnosis. They may be with us a little longer. They may need ongoing therapy. Say you have a diagnosis like bipolar disorder, or you have recurrent depression. Those clients are with us a little bit longer because they need recurrent support for when they have something that triggers maybe some of their symptoms.
Okay. And so you're having an event, a mental health awareness fair. It's happening October 26th. Give us some information about that.
Yes. So, back to what you said about the stigma. That's what we want to help decrease in our community, especially in minority communities. So we are having a mental health awareness fair on October 26th. It will be from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. We are going to have vendors, community vendors that can maybe help you connect to some community resources that you may not have known existed in your community. We'll have food trucks. We'll have family entertainment, some live performances, and it will be at Buccaneer Park in Miami Gardens. The address is 20601 Northwest 32nd Avenue, and that's in Miami Gardens at Buccaneer Park.
That is awesome. So the event again is a mental health awareness fair. It has all kinds of services and highlights where you can go for help, because a lot of parents feel desperate, even adults, because it's also for adult services as well, right?
Correct.
And so it's happening from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Buccaneer Park, 20601 Northwest 32nd Avenue in Miami Gardens. And what do they have to pre-register? Can they just show up at the park?
Just come out and meet with us. We would be happy to let you know what kind of services we have. We're happy to connect you with the vendors that are there that may be able to offer you services that we may not have. We want to help the community become aware of who is there to support them, whether it be us or a different vendor. All we're most concerned about is helping the people in our community find the best and healthiest version of themselves.
That is so awesome. I put that on a t-shirt. And I previously had a conversation a few weeks ago, and I was speaking to you earlier about it, is PTSD.
Mhm.
When you think about PTSD, I made the error of thinking about someone who was in Afghanistan or at war and they came back and they're suffering from it, a veteran. But this is happening in our communities. If we saw someone get shot in our neighborhood, violence, parents, domestic violence in our home, abuse,
Yes.
like PTSD stems from all those things, and the average person suffers from PTSD. Children suffer from PTSD.
So one of the things that I do with every new client is what we call an ACE questionnaire, an adverse childhood experience questionnaire. Have you witnessed someone go to jail or prison? Have you witnessed domestic violence or intimate partner violence? Have you been sexually abused? Have you been severely physically abused? Have you ever received a spanking where you got marks or bruises? All of those experiences contribute to post-traumatic stress disorder. And as you said, community violence. Things that you may have witnessed. Maybe you were just coming out of your house or you're at school and you see a fight and now you're scared to walk home.
Something like that, as simple as that, and it's not that simple, but losing a friend, a parent to violence, parents being incarcerated, that's a loss as well. So many things are happening to our youth, and I really appreciate the community connections for life. Again, we're going to talk further on another